The void stretched endlessly, a canvas of stars and shadow, and for centuries humanity had remained a quiet observer. Worlds collided, empires rose and fell, and the galaxy whispered rumors of Earth's latent power, a force restrained by wisdom and restraint. The warning had been clear: humanity was capable of more than any starfaring race could imagine, yet chose to hold back, measured, deliberate, cautious. And now, after eons of patient observation, the call for mercy had been ignored, and the universe would learn the consequences of underestimating a species forged through adversity, intelligence, and indomitable will. Beyond the orbit of a shattered planet, alien fleets assembled. Their forms massive and alien, bristling with weapons that bent light and gravity alike. They had heard of humanity's restraint and assumed weakness, an assumption that would soon be shattered. Among the stars, the Deathworlder fleet, Earth's hidden emissaries of power, prepared to move. Engines ignited with a resonance that thrummed across parsecs, a soundless song of energy and intent, the fleet aligning into formations so precise they seemed choreographed by thought itself. Every ship, every pilot, every sensor was attuned to the singular goal: demonstrate that humanity would no longer wait. Sensors flared with incoming alien positions, energy signatures that dwarfed the largest human vessels yet failed to intimidate. Tactical displays danced with calculated brilliance, plotting every maneuver, every angle of attack and defense. The Deathworlder fleet was more than warships, it was a manifestation of humanity's intellect, its moral clarity, and its strategic foresight. This was a species that had survived extinction, that had tamed worlds and shaped its environment with intelligence, and now it would reveal itself not as a negotiator, but as an arbiter of cosmic consequence. The alien commanders, blind to the patience that had defined humanity for millennia, unleashed their first volleys. Plasma arcs bent unpredictably in the void, gravity disruptors rippled through space, and yet the fleet moved as one. Shields shimmered in harmonic resonance, deflecting energies that could have vaporized entire cities. Fighters wove between explosions, not randomly, but with elegant precision, each movement a calculated counter to threats both seen and anticipated. Humanity's defiance was methodical, its courage deliberate, and every strike a statement. The galaxy had awakened a force it had long underestimated. Below, the fractured planet reflected the chaos above. Its atmosphere, scarred by previous wars, danced with auroras from weapon discharges, a silent witness to the intelligence guiding the fleet. Alien civilians, trapped amidst the conflict, witnessed the unfolding display of strategy and restraint. Unlike previous conquerors who acted with blind fury, humanity chose measured precision, demonstrating a strength that was not reckless, but deliberate, moral, and unyielding. In this moment, the galaxy glimpsed a species whose power was inseparable from its conscience, whose intellect matched its courage. The first collision of titanic forces erupted, but even amidst the chaos, the fleet moved with rhythmic synchronization. Energy flares painted the void in violet and gold, explosions cascaded across debris fields, yet not a single ship faltered. The Deathworlders advanced not to destroy recklessly but to command the battlefield, to show that any attack upon life or order would be met with unrelenting precision. Every maneuver was a declaration, every salvo a message. Humanity had held back for long enough, and now the galaxy would witness the full extent of its resolve. And as the void trembled with the arrival of Earth's vengeance, one certainty rippled across the stars: the warning had been ignored, and the universe would soon learn that some restraints, once broken, could never be forgotten. The alien fleets recoiled slightly at the first calculated maneuvers of the Deathworlder ships, but their arrogance remained unshaken. They had dominated countless systems, crushed species, and rewritten entire star charts with their technological supremacy. Yet now, they faced humans who had spent millennia mastering patience, strategy, and ingenuity. Each vessel moved as an extension of a singular will, engines pulsing in unison, shields resonating with harmonic precision. Humanity was not merely responding, it was orchestrating the battlefield with an artistry the galaxy had never witnessed. Fighter squadrons flared out from the larger ships, darting between energy storms, weaving through gravity distortions with almost prescient accuracy. Missiles and plasma arcs bent toward calculated points in the void, striking with precision that left no collateral damage among neutral entities. Each strike and counterstrike was not born of anger but of logic, intellect, and moral discernment. Humanity's defiance was not brash, it was measured. And it carried the weight of centuries of survival against overwhelming odds. On board the flagship, the Admiral observed the unfolding battle, eyes scanning trillions of data points streaming across layered displays. Calculations that would take other species hours to process were interpreted instantaneously. Decisions flowed seamlessly, integrating intelligence from drones, reconnaissance satellites, and fighter feedback, creating a network of predictive strategy that even the most advanced alien systems struggled to match. Humanity's superiority was subtle, quiet, but unmistakable, a cerebral power wrapped in the guise of resolute calm. The aliens attempted to flank, sending massive tendrils of energy to fracture the fleet's formation. They expected chaos, panic, disorder, but the Deathworlders did not yield. Shields flexed and shimmered like living armor, vessels repositioned with choreographed precision, and countermeasures deployed to redirect the assault harmlessly into space. Every human ship acted not only in defense but with a purpose that radiated intent. Survival was essential, but justice, protection, and order defined the parameters of engagement. Below, in the shadowed corridors of the alien command vessels, officers whispered in disbelief. They had assumed human restraint implied weakness, but the unfolding display revealed something far more formidable. Humans wielded intellect as effortlessly as weaponry. Empathy as strategically as a fleet. Every calculated move was a lesson. Power without purpose is hollow, but power aligned with conscience is unstoppable. As the battle raged, the Deathworlders advanced toward the heart of the enemy formation. Energy arcs illuminated the void, explosions blossomed like deadly flowers, yet no ship faltered. Humanity's fleet moved not as separate units but as a single entity, decisive, adaptive, and moral. Every alien maneuver, every desperate attempt at dominance, was anticipated and countered. The galaxy watched silently, unable to deny the truth. The species that had long observed, restrained, and survived had now arrived, and it would no longer be underestimated. In the quiet spaces between flares of light and bursts of energy, the message was clear: humanity had warned the galaxy for centuries. Now, with measured force and unflinching intellect, it had begun to deliver on that warning. The void itself seemed to bend under the calculated movements of the Deathworlder fleet. Every explosion, every pulse of energy, every trajectory of missile and plasma beam was a demonstration of unparalleled precision. Alien vessels, immense and terrifying in their design, were met not with blind aggression but with strategy that anticipated every action, every feint, every desperate gambit. Humanity's power was not a display of rage, it was a symphony of intellect. Foresight and deliberate moral choice. Among the fleet, frigates carved paths through debris fields with dancer's grace, relaying data instantly to capital ships whose shields shimmered like liquid metal. The alien commanders, accustomed to terrorizing civilizations into submission, now faced confusion and awe. Their weapon arrays fired in a storm of light, yet human counters neutralized them before harm could touch the weak or innocent. Every maneuver was a lesson in restraint combined with unstoppable force. Humanity was proving that to wield power responsibly was itself an art, and that art had been honed across millennia. Down on a fractured moon, alien civilians huddled within crumbling habitats, watching as human forces advanced with precision. Rescue drones glided past debris, extracting survivors with gentle efficiency, while defensive fields deflected stray attacks from the chaos above. The sight was overwhelming. Species that had assumed they were alone in the galaxy now witnessed humans moving not only with power but with purpose, protecting life even amidst a war of titanic scale. Humanity's defiance was tempered by conscience, and that combination made them formidable beyond reckoning. High above, the flagship monitored the battlefield with calm authority. Every prediction made, every vector calculated, every response executed in milliseconds, as if the fleet itself thought as a singular mind. Alien strategists, who prided themselves on complexity and cunning, began to see the futility of their arrogance. The humans had mastered not only technology but the principles of anticipation, moral calculus, and decisive action. Resistance was not yet futile, it was merely irrelevant. In the deep stretches between explosions and maneuvers, humans and aliens alike could sense the rhythm of control. The Deathworlders were not chaotic, not reactionary, they were deliberate, poised, unshakable. Even when the enemy attempted last-ditch maneuvers to fracture the fleet, every assault was absorbed, deflected, and redirected. Humanity's defiance was intellectual as well as martial, turning every threat into an opportunity to demonstrate precision, strategy, and a capacity for moral judgment that no species had witnessed before. As the battle continued, the galaxy began to understand an undeniable truth. For centuries, humanity had held back. They had observed, they had restrained, and they had warned. But now, when the call went unanswered and life hung in the balance, they moved with calculated might. Every strike, every maneuver, every protective action was a declaration that the species once underestimated was now the arbiter of consequence across the stars. The void shimmered with energy, the alien fleet staggered under unseen pressures, and the Deathworlder formation advanced steadily. Humanity had answered the call, not with panic, not with indiscriminate fury, but with an unstoppable force guided by intellect, empathy, and defiance. The warning had been ignored. Now the galaxy would see what it meant. The alien armada, vast and arrogant, began to falter under the relentless coordination of the Deathworlder fleet. Each human vessel moved as though connected by a single consciousness, shields harmonizing, engines pulsing, weapons deployed with calculated intent. The galaxy watched as precision became power, strategy became dominance, and restraint became an unbreakable edge sharper than any blade. Humanity's defiance was no longer quiet, it was manifest, unavoidable, and terrifying in its perfection. Massive tendrils of alien energy erupted toward the fleet, warping the very fabric of space. Where other species would have panicked, human ships responded instantly, deploying counterfields that bent the energy harmlessly into the void. Fighter squadrons darted through the maelstrom, weaving between explosions and debris with preternatural grace, striking at weak points predicted before the enemy even recognized them. The aliens realized, too late, that their numbers and firepower meant little against a species that had perfected foresight as a weapon. From orbit around a fractured planet, humans directed rescue operations with the same meticulous efficiency they applied to combat. Pods of alien survivors, terrified and desperate, were lifted from devastation by drones and frigates. Even in the chaos of war, humanity's choices were deliberate. Lives were protected, habitat stabilized, and collateral destruction minimized. The Deathworlder fleet had come not only to punish but to protect, proving that power wielded with intelligence and conscience was the ultimate form of authority. Alien commanders screamed through comms, their arrogance crumbling. They had assumed humans would act recklessly, emotionally, violently. Instead, every action taken by the Deathworlders was measured, purposeful, and morally precise. Every counterattack was a lesson in restraint, every tactical maneuver a demonstration that true power required not only strength but understanding. They faced a species that had survived extinction, tamed planets, and shaped entire star systems, not by overwhelming force alone, but by intellect, discipline, and ethical clarity. Across the void, explosions blossomed in colors alien and magnificent, yet the Deathworlder formation remained unbroken. Capital ships maneuvered to intercept multiple waves of assault simultaneously, fighters coordinated with uncanny synchronicity, and support drones reinforced weakened shields before danger could strike. Every ship, every crew member, every calculation was part of a single purpose, to demonstrate that the species once underestimated would not just survive, but dominate with reason and justice. And as the battle reached its crescendo, the alien armada began to scatter, confused and broken. The galaxy had witnessed a new kind of warfare, one in which intellect, morality, and human pride were as formidable as plasma and graviton cannons. Humanity had held back for eons, but now it had acted. The warning had been clear for centuries, and the Deathworlders were delivering its final, undeniable proof. The humans of Earth were no longer a quiet observer. They were a force the universe would never ignore. The alien armada, once brimming with hubris and certainty, now reeled under the unyielding precision of the Deathworlder fleet. Every maneuver of the humans was premeditated. Every strike a statement of both intellect and moral judgment. Plasma arcs and gravitational distortions assaulted the void, yet shields shimmered with harmonic resilience, absorbing and redirecting assaults before the enemy could grasp the consequences. Humanity was not merely fighting, it was demonstrating an immutable truth. Restraint and strategy were as lethal as firepower, and when combined, they became unstoppable. Capital ships advanced in flawless synchrony, weaving through debris from shattered worlds and destroyed vessels with a fluidity that made the alien commanders' panic palpable. The humans anticipated every tactic, countered every maneuver, and exploited every weakness with clinical perfection. Fighter squadrons flitted between massive warships, executing maneuvers so precise that each engagement seemed choreographed. Each pilot understood the greater strategy, acting with intuition born from centuries of training, intellect, and the quiet certainty of superiority. Amidst the chaos, humanitarian operations continued unabated. Pods of survivors, once trapped on broken planets or caught within energy storms, were plucked to safety. Even in the heart of war, human morality was a guiding force, demonstrating that power wielded without conscience was primitive, while power aligned with ethics was transcendent. The aliens could not comprehend the combination of intellect and compassion. They had long equated strength with dominance, and now that illusion was shattered. From the flagship, the admiral surveyed the battlefield with unwavering calm. Streams of data flowed faster than thought, calculations refined in milliseconds, outcomes predicted and countered before the enemy had even initiated them. It was a display not of chaos, but of order, a symphony of coordinated strategy and moral clarity. Humanity's defiance was no longer subtle, it was overwhelming, undeniable, and awe-inspiring. Every move, every counter, every decision broadcast a message across the stars. Underestimate humans at your peril. Alien vessels faltered, their formations breaking under the relentless human advance. Explosions rippled through the void, energy flares illuminating the intelligence and coordination of every human maneuver. The Deathworlders struck with purpose, not mindless fury, demonstrating that true power lay not in annihilation but in the precise application of force. Every calculated strike, every protective measure, every daring maneuver was a testament to the species that had endured extinction, tamed worlds, and now stood as the galaxy's arbiter. As the last waves of alien resistance crumbled, the void fell into an uneasy calm. Humanity's message had been delivered, loud and unambiguous. Patience had guided them for millennia, but when provoked and ignored, restraint gave way to decisive, unstoppable action. The Deathworlder fleet, instruments of intellect and moral judgment, had carved a path through arrogance and ignorance alike. The galaxy would remember this day, and one undeniable truth would echo across the stars: humanity's warning had been real, and its consequence, absolute. The alien remnants scattered across the void, trembling in disbelief at the relentless precision and intellect of the Deathworlder fleet. Every ship that had survived the onslaught bore witness to a force unlike any they had ever encountered. Humanity had moved not with mindless fury, nor with reckless abandon, but with calculated purpose. Every salvo fired, every maneuver executed, every shield raised was a message: underestimate us no longer. For patience has limits, and consequence waits for none. Across fractured star systems, the signs of human defiance were unmistakable. Entire fleets had been neutralized with minimal collateral damage, planets were stabilized, and survivors rescued even as the battle raged. It was a display of power entwined with morality, a species demonstrating that mastery over technology and strategy was nothing without a compass of ethics. Alien commanders, once confident in their superiority, found themselves outmaneuvered and outthought at every turn, facing a species that had survived extinction and yet chosen restraint until the moment demanded revelation, from orbit around a shattered moon. The flagship sensors detected fleeing alien vessels, their formations broken, their weapons diminished, their morale shattered. Human fighters pursued with unwavering precision, intercepting only when necessary, allowing some to escape as a deliberate demonstration. power wielded responsibly does not indiscriminately destroy, it defines and corrects. Every strike, every counter, every calculated act of defense and offense reinforced the same principle. Humanity's intelligence and moral depth were weapons as lethal as any cannon. As the battlefields of the void glimmered with the remnants of energy and debris, humanity's fleet advanced to the edges of known space. Each system passed under their watchful sensors. Every signal scanned, every anomaly accounted for. The Deathworlders did not seek conquest for conquest's sake, they sought to send a message that would resonate across the galaxy. The species once underestimated had now arrived fully, and its restraint had been a measured warning, not weakness. The stars themselves seemed to pulse with the significance of this revelation. Alien civilizations that had watched in fear and awe from afar began to reconsider their assumptions. The intelligence, discipline, and moral clarity of humans were no longer theoretical, they were proven, undeniable, and unstoppable when unleashed. Fleets that had once laughed at Earth's supposed limitations now fled in calculated retreat. Knowing that engagement was futile against a species whose intellect was matched only by its courage and resolve. Humanity's defiance had become legend, and across the cosmos, whispers of it would echo for generations. As the Deathworlder fleet returned to their rendezvous points, engines humming in quiet unison, the galaxy had changed irreversibly. A species that had once observed patiently had now acted decisively, demonstrating that intelligence, courage, and moral fortitude were the ultimate forces in the universe. The alien armadas would remember the precision, the restraint, and the inevitability of human action. And somewhere, across the stars, the message resonated clearly: humanity had waited. Humanity had warned, and now humanity had arrived. The void settled, silent yet resonant with the echoes of calculated power and righteous defiance, and the stars themselves seemed to bear witness. Humanity had answered the call, not with chaos, not with fury, but with unyielding intellect and moral authority. The galaxy had been warned, and the lesson would endure. For those who survived, one truth was eternal: never underestimate a species that has mastered patience, intellect, and the courage to act when the moment demands it.